Okay, for section 3, we're going to have you work on harder sequences. So again, we have these sequences here. We have a set of them, but we're longer. Right now, the previous sequences with a bunch of zeros after them, which does make it a little longer. But you can actually make these harder by putting in some more objects in each one. And remember, so each one of these is a sequence. So the idea here is that you don't see anything, and then you see the second object, let's say the orange. You don't see anything again for a long time. You have to remember the orange here. We're like in this sequence, you might see the orange at first, and then you might see the Rubik's Cube, and then you don't see anything for a long time. You have to remember what was the last thing you saw again. And again, the outputs are here, and again, these have to correspond. So if I were to change one of these, so here, let's say in this second one, I'm seeing number 3 for a while and number 1, and let's say I want to then see number 2 for a while here. I see number 2 for a while here. The last thing I see was number 2. So again, this is the first object. I see nothing. And this is the second one. 1 used to be the last thing I saw. Now it's 2. So I have to make sure I change this answer 2 to correspond to this. So as you change this, the input data, make sure you correspondingly change the output data here to match. Okay. Then you'll run this. You run your network and see how your predictions go. And this should be harder. You should get worse performance as you go, depending on your setup. So watch your network here. Here it looks like every number matches correctly. So I'm learning that. But again, I haven't made this very hard yet. All I have is added some zeros in here, and so try to change this and see if you can make this more difficult, the data difficult. So your job is to make the data more difficult, and we can talk a little bit about vanishing gradients. So over time, can you remember what's passed? And then work on your network. Try long-term, short-term networks or simple RNNs. Just try ones. You can do a couple things. You can modify the number of layers here in a network, either there or there. You can train for more epochs. Again, we have a really small data set here. You're welcome to add more items to this data set if you want, again, but if you don't, it's a real small data set. So again, we may have to run this 1,000 times or something like that to get good training. So you have to consider changing that. Or you could stick another dense layer. So sometimes we want to probably stick with one recurrent layer here. That's pretty common. But here, our output layer has to have 4 elements, but you could add another dense layer in here. Let's say of 16 or 32 units in here also. So you could put another layer in there. Okay, so those are your options. Run this and describe how you make this data more challenging, what you put in here, and then how you modify the network and what your results are.